On the morning of March 19th, 2026, the Norris family posted a statement that stunned the world. Chuck Norris, martial arts champion, action icon, and one of the most recognized faces in American popular culture, had died suddenly at 86, following a medical emergency in Hawaii.
Sad news to report here. The world mourning the loss of martial arts legend Chuck Norris after he was hospitalized for a medical emergency. And Norris's breakout role as Bruce Lee's fierce opponent in Way of the Dragon cemented his place as an action star. He became a household name in the 1980s and 90s, and he was probably best known as the vigilante lawman in Walker, Texas Ranger.
Just 9 days earlier, on March 10th, Norris had marked his 86th birthday with a final public post in which he described himself as being in good health.
I don't age, I level up.
The world mourned a legend, but inside a very different kind of story, his death triggered something else entirely. Because Chuck Norris, it now emerges, had a private friendship with one of the most disgraced figures in British royal history. And the woman who has chosen this moment, of all moments, to speak about that friendship, is a woman who has not been seen in public for nearly 3 months. Sarah Ferguson's whereabouts have remained unknown. She has not been seen in public since December 2025. She has given no interviews. She has made no statements. Her current location has been described simply as a mystery, until now. This is not just the story of an unlikely friendship between a Texas Ranger and a disgraced British Duke. This is a story about loyalty tested to its absolute limit, and what it reveals about the world Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has been left with. Let's dive in. To understand the weight of what Sarah Ferguson has chosen to share, it is necessary to understand precisely how far and how fast everything has fallen. Last year, as scrutiny over the Epstein files began gaining ground, Andrew was stripped of his titles. He and Sarah Ferguson were evicted from Royal Lodge. The mansion they had shared in Windsor's grounds for nearly 2 decades, a property Andrew had refused to leave for years, was no longer his to refuse. Then came February 19, 2026. Thames Valley Police arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Officers searched his Norfolk home and Royal Lodge in Windsor. He was released under investigation after nearly 12 hours of questioning. Officers reportedly logged him as Detainee A during that process. He has denied all wrongdoing. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor remains 8th in line to the throne, but the UK government is considering removing him following his arrest. King Charles has not referred to him publicly as a brother or as a member of the royal family in any statement since. Prince William's view, according to sources, is that the time has come for Sarah Ferguson to deal with whatever consequences may follow, rather than relying on the prestige of the royal name to soften the impact of the controversy. And Ferguson herself. She reportedly travelled to Switzerland, where she allegedly checked into a luxury wellness clinic. According to the Daily Mail, she also spent time at Ballyliffin Lodge and Spa in Donegal, Ireland. Her charity shut down. Her Duchess of York title, which she had retained since the 1996 divorce, was required to be relinquished in 2025. Royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams, speaking to the Daily Mail, had previously noted that Ferguson and Andrew had remained genuinely close in a way that had surprised long-time observers. She was, by most accounts, one of the few people he still trusted completely. But it was the death of Chuck Norris, announced just 3 days ago, that appears to have moved her to speak. The friendship between Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and Chuck Norris was not a recent development, nor was it forged in crisis. Sources familiar with Andrew's private social world, speaking to OK Magazine, indicated that the two men were introduced through mutual acquaintances during the mid-2000s, when Andrew was still serving as the United Kingdom's Special Representative for International Trade and Investment. His schedule at the time took him regularly and extensively to the United States. What began as a formal introduction, those sources suggest, became something more durable. The connection endured across more than a decade, surviving Andrew's progressive fall from public life and surviving Norris's own gradual withdrawal from the public eye in his later years. But Ferguson's comments go further than a simple account of two men who found common ground. According to a source speaking to Closer Weekly, Ferguson described a specific private exchange, one in which Norris reached out to Andrew directly following the catastrophic 2019 BBC Newsnight interview, the broadcast widely regarded as the single most damaging moment in Andrew's modern public life. While there is no independent confirmation of the precise contents of that communication, the source indicated that Norris offered something the palace was never going to provide: personal solidarity from someone who understood firsthand what it meant to be defined entirely by your worst moment in the public eye. It wasn't advice in any formal sense, the source said. It was one man telling another, "I see you. You're still standing. Keep standing." For a man who was by that point almost entirely abandoned by his institutional world, that appears to have mattered. But the revelation that has truly sharpened the timing of Ferguson's comments is this. Just 9 days before his death, Chuck Norris had posted publicly that he was in good health. His family's statement described his passing as sudden. He was surrounded by family and was at peace.
His family made the announcement in a statement on his Instagram account Friday. It read, quote, "While we would like to keep the circumstances private, please know that he was surrounded by his family and was at peace."
His family saying in a statement to the world, he was a martial artist, actor, and a symbol of strength. To us, he was a devoted husband, a loving father and grandfather, an incredible brother, and the heart of our family. He was 86 years old, Rebecca.
An inspiration to so many around the world. He will always be remembered.
Nobody, including by all accounts Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, saw it coming. The man who had offered private counsel during Andrew's darkest professional hour has died. And 3 days later, the woman closest to Andrew has chosen to speak. The timing is not lost on anyone watching closely. York councillors are now formally preparing to vote on whether Sarah Ferguson should lose her Freedom of the City of York, a title she has held since 1987, the year after her marriage to Andrew. The vote is scheduled for March 26th at an extraordinary council meeting in York. Labour Council leader Claire Douglas has already described it as deplorable for anyone holding city-linked honours to remain tied to such controversy. Officials working for the former Duchess of York did not respond to a request for comment. She has not been seen publicly for months. Meanwhile, the pressures around her continue to accumulate in directions that now extend beyond herself. Royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams, speaking to The Express, has criticised Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie for their reported meeting with Epstein in Florida after his release from prison in July 2009, stating that they were adults and must have known a good deal. The institution, for its part, has maintained an almost theatrical silence on all of this. Every statement from Buckingham Palace has been calibrated, minimal, and carefully designed to place maximum distance between the Crown and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Royal commentator Angela Levin, speaking to Hello magazine, observed that anything repositioning Andrew as a man with loyal, respected friends was something the palace would prefer not to amplify, which is precisely what makes Ferguson's decision to speak so significant. There is a separate, ongoing dispute between Ferguson and Andrew over the custody of the late Queen's corgis, Sandy and Muick, a standoff driven, according to sources, by the absence of any written ownership agreement. The woman reportedly preparing a legal battle over two dogs is also, simultaneously, the woman now speaking warmly about a friendship her former husband shared with one of America's most recognized cultural figures. An insider speaking to the National Enquirer suggested the move was not accidental. Fergie doesn't say things without calculating what she's saying. She mentioned Chuck Norris because she wanted people to know Andrew had that. Because right now, almost nobody else is saying anything good about him at all. Chuck Norris's family described a man who lived his life with faith, purpose, and an unwavering commitment to the people he loved. They described someone who, through discipline and kindness, left a lasting impact. Whether or not that impact extended privately to a disgraced British royal, the world will now never hear confirmed from Norris himself. What remains is the picture Ferguson is slowly, carefully painting. a man who maintained genuine private loyalties across more than a decade, a man who received counsel from someone the palace would never have sanctioned, and who found in that counsel something the institution entirely failed to provide. Whether it changes anything institutionally is, at this point, almost beside the question. Prince William has made clear that those royal links cannot continue to function as a protective buffer. The investigation continues. The March 26th York Council vote approaches. Sarah Ferguson's own permanent residence remains unknown, with sources suggesting she is getting ready to embrace her independence following Andrew's forced departure from Royal Lodge. The friendship with Chuck Norris is gone now. And one of the very last people willing to speak well of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is a woman whose own title, civic honour, whereabouts and legal standing are all simultaneously in question.
Former Duchess of York Sarah Ferguson, better known as Fergie, has been stripped of a decades-old honour over her links to Jeffrey Epstein.
The former Duchess of York Sarah Ferguson has been stripped of another prestigious title because of her links to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
What this means for the future is still being written. What do you think? Was Sarah Ferguson right to publicly invoke her ex-husband's friendship with Chuck Norris at this precise moment? Or does the timing make it look more like a strategic move than a genuine tribute? Should Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's private loyalties carry any weight against the institutional case being built against him? And with Chuck Norris gone, Sarah Ferguson's own future uncertain, and the York Council vote.
The City of York Council has voted to remove Sarah Ferguson's Freedom of the City of York honour.
Is there anyone left in Andrew's corner who the palace cannot simply ignore?